please, if you can't hear me, or if I use words or phrases that are unfamiliar, most Americans only speak one language, so please stop me and question me about that. So that's me. So let me just tell you, okay, all right.
Do you want me to click for you?
Yeah, please, would you? Look at that, saving not only the world, but my
No,
presentation.
except it's now not doing it.
All right, we'll just keep going. Mostly I want to just tell you about who I am and why I think I'm here today. I own a data company in Washington, D.C. It's 10 years old. We are the data company that supplies all the data for the Democratic Party and every Democratic candidate in the United States. We also work with commercial data. We work with commercial data and political data, which I think is probably more interesting here than I thought it was going to be, because I've been hearing some talk about commercial data versus election data, and this company, TargetSmart, is actually two partners who came from the commercial world, two partners came from the political world, and we brought the best of both worlds into the company. And what's been interesting is the corporate people always think the election people are doing it right, and the election people always think the corporate people are doing it right, and actually there's an integration. They can all learn from each other. As I said, we were part of the Obama campaign. We were the big data, yeah, that's good. We were the big data coming out of the 12 campaign. So my presentation is going to focus on data today, but what I really want to hope you come away from this with is that there needs to be an integration, because I'm going to talk about data and how it affects your research and how it affects your communications. But what I really would like to emphasize is that there really needs to be an integration between all of these pieces. You need your data, your research, and your communications all integrated, so you're talking to the right people, you're saying the right thing, and you're getting the right message across, so you can actually get someone to do what it is you need to do. And I know that digital is the big sexy beast in the room, but I think that we should never neglect, and Thomas and I we didn't really know each other before last night, but we were really glad that we were paired together. We were very glad we were paired together because, as you can see from his presentation, they're not relying on digital. They're using a lot of what we used to call shoe leather. They're using real people doing real things. And I think, as we all know, whether you're doing fundraising or electioneering, the one-on-one communication is always the best. And the further you move away from that one-on-one communication, the further away you're going to get from the results you're looking for. So as I talk to you about all this, try and think of the campaigns you're running and how to integrate all your resources and how to get the best of all your resources. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about, obviously, is data, which used to look like this. Go ahead. And then, woo-woo, we got Excel. And when we had Excel, we could start to actually, you're probably all too young to remember this anyway, but it was the first time that some of us could actually at least reformulate the data so that you could alphabetize without having to do cards and all kinds of stuff. And then we got to big data. Okay, well, we got to big data.
Our friend is with us again.
And big data came with a lot of great stuff. Big data came with analytics. Big data came with really great ways to actually start to do modeling and lookalike modeling and analytics, and to be able to start to overlay modeling and analytics onto the big data. And that's, that was the big 2008, 2012 innovation that, was the war room and, the big thing that came out of those elections. But, now we all know that digital is where it's all moving, and now we need to be able to be, you heard every Facebook presentation we heard today was everything needs to be mobile, and you need to do mobile first. Again, mobile is, digital is the big sexy beast, but don't neglect the nuts and bolts of your campaign and spend all your time on digital and forget about, some one-on-one canvassing, some phone calls, and really reaching out to your core audience. The Sanders campaign has been really interesting, really effective. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them. I am not taking sides in the I'm a Democrat, so I don't care what they do on the other side. But I just say I'm not taking sides between Secretary Clinton or Senator Sanders. It's just that he's the underdog, he's the outsider. He's actually been a little bit more creative. His people have really tried to, that's where most of the innovations we're seeing are coming from. So let's see, next slide. Okay, so again, you want to make the most of your resources. You want to make sure that you're looking at data. And when you look at your data, you want to make sure that, so good data will give you something like this, and this is done on a direct mail piece, I know direct mail, but this is done on a direct mail piece. The math is based on a United States model where you spent $1.50 to send someone a piece of mail. You spent $15,000. And then, if you didn't clean your data, you see down the left-hand side, you've got some dead people and duplicates and blah, blah, blah. You've wasted $2,350. That's your cost per voter. This is how much you've wasted. You've wasted over 3,000 American dollars. Not only have you wasted your money, you've not talked to the people that you want to talk to, and you have an opportunity cost that you've completely missed because you talked to 2,350 people who are either dead or don't care about you or don't live at that address anymore. But you know, there's also volunteer costs here. If this is a phone program and you've got people sitting on the phone and they're just getting wrong number after dead person after dead person, your motivation for your volunteers is it's nil. You're going to lose these people. So again, you know, your data is really key. It's the underpinning of the success that you're going to have, both economically and electorally. Okay, what are we doing next here? Yeah. Okay.
Not my friend.
So also, well, research. I know research is expensive and maybe a lot of campaigns don't use research, but most campaigns, bigger ones, all depend on research to actually, you know, who are you supposed to be soliciting, who are you supposed to be going after, who needs to hear from you, who's, you know, loves you and is going to go to vote anyway or give you money. But if you don't have good data and you don't have good phone numbers, you are never going to be able to have good research results. And in the United States, you know, I was in a session this morning where we were talking about data, and everybody's like, oh, woe is me. In the United States, you can do what you want. In Europe, we have all these laws and blah, blah. Well, let me tell you something. We have a lot of laws in the United States. As I said this morning, we have more laws around data than we do around guns, and that is the God's honest truth. But in the United States, if you want to get voter data, you have to go to every state in the union, which has its own laws about who can get it and how you can use it. And in some of those states, you have to go down to the municipality. So there are lots of laws about data in the United States. But what you have to do is you have to figure them out, and you have to figure out how to get the data to work for you, and how to store it without going outside the law, and how to maintain it. And a lot of time people get data, and they think, okay, I've got it, and then they don't look at it again. And data and your database is a living, breathing asset. If you don't do any care and feeding to your data, it becomes old in 24 hours. So in the United States, no, don't go yet. No, okay. So one of the innovations that's come out of the happened in 2015, the laws changed in the United States about how you could phone people. And now you cannot phone people on their cell phone. You have to have a live person, so you can't do a robocall, okay? Everybody know what a robocall is, an automated call? So you have to actually call people on their cell phones. And so it's a very expensive call and it's driving the cost of research up. So what we've experimented with is a combination of a multi-mode contact method where we're using robocalls, live operators, and we've started now using online panels. And I don't know, is that very common here? Am I preaching to the choir and should move on? Okay, so online panels, there are companies that recruit people to take online surveys. And then there are companies that have the platform to host the online survey. And then what the data does is it's in the middle, and it makes the contact anonymous, so that everyone can't see that we're talking to actually you, and you. But this multi-mode of now doing research is one of the innovations this is going to be more popular in about 2 years, but we're starting with it right now because research is getting so incredibly expensive. Okay, thank you. So, going back to tools and going back to basics. So here you have our illustrious, and I love him, our president, on the phone. So, you take the data and you produce a phone list. And I can assure you that when you produce a phone list for the United States, the President of the United States, you're using really, really, really good data. Because the last thing you want him to do is call a dead person, I'm telling you. So, again, getting back to basics, using really good data and really great data methodology to clean and standardize your data. And then you see the President of the United States going door-to-door canvassing. Again, this one-on-one back to basics. It's not too good for President Obama. It's not too good for the rest of us. That's all I got to say. So, you give the President of the United States a walk list. You don't want to have him go to Rand Paul's house. I mean, you want him to go to somebody's house who's at least open to his message. And then, good data, good tools, yay, you win. So, again, those are all outcomes from 2012, mostly the 2012 election. But I wanted to try and talk to you about some of the things that are happening right now. And I did this presentation in January in Africa. And since then, this slide has come into it because things have changed. So, again, it's the Sanders campaign that's actually doing a lot of the innovating. So, they had people on the phones, they had volunteers on the phone, they're looking at the script on the web, on the internet, and they were people weren't getting enough phone numbers fast enough. They dial through the list, nobody's home, I got a machine. And so it was going slow, and the Sanders campaign, which is how it always goes, they were like, yeah, this will never work. So they actually programmed the dialer, the robo-dialer, so that when it got a live person, it fed it right into the next volunteer. So they went from doing 3 or 4 people an hour to 20 people an hour. And they just started doing this, like in February, so this is really new. But this is one of the innovations that I think after the campaign, I wouldn't be surprised if the people who program that dialer start a company and make money off of that dialer. I know I'd buy it, for one thing. The other thing they're doing is again on the phones, they had a phone program, they had volunteers in there, and the person in charge of the phone program noticed that kind of the young people, like behind their backs, they were texting. They weren't making phone calls, they were texting. So the person in charge said, what are you doing? And they said, no, it's text. On the phone, it's text. Now I know this is my cohort, this is texting. And so he said, well, you don't have to be secretive about it. What are you doing? Let's talk about it. So, because they're smart and an underdog, they went out and they got an app. And the app lets them text faster. It lets them personalize their texting. And it actually allows the campaign on the back end to track what's going on, which, as you're a data person, you don't only just want to know who says yes, it's very important to know who says no. So tracking is very key, and it's very key to keeping, to running your campaign. So this app actually let them also track results. So you can see they had tremendous results with that in terms of boosting their response rates. And they found that also the message mattered, not that that's surprising, but the message did matter. And what they actually found was that if they asked someone to do something, not are you a supporter or are you going to, vote for Bernie, but will you come to an event, that's when they got really good responses. And the other thing that they're doing, which is a lot what Thomas was talking about, is that they are asking people, so the Clinton campaign, because they were flush, they had paid staff all over the place. The Sanders campaign had, at the beginning they had no money. Now they're the model for everybody. $27, yes, and he's breaking the internet because people are contributing so much. But in the beginning they didn't have money. They asked volunteers, will you host an event? Will you go talk to your neighbors? And they had tremendous response from people taking part as volunteers, like paid staff would be, only they're volunteers in their neighborhood. They had tremendous response to that. So it's a lot like what Amnesty International is doing. Okay. Next slide. No, that's the same slide. You can't fool me. Okay, so, whoops. Okay. So let us talk about the sexy beast in the room. Let us talk digital. No, I'll go back.
Sexy beast.
There we go, sexy beast right there. So in August, all right, just leave it there. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. In August, working with Experian. Do you know the Experian is a global data company, a commercial data company. Working with Experian and the National Democratic Party, TargetSmart and Experian and the DNC, we integrated the national voter file with the Experian data, which prepared the National Democratic voter file for digital. And so now the digital voter file is exposed to all of the media outlets that Experian has partnerships with, which is more than Facebook. It's AOL, Yahoo, it's, their Experian, so it's all of them. So this is the newest thing that's come out of the campaign, and we are extremely hopeful about it. Every Democratic candidate in the country has access to this. It's provided through the party, and what I wanted to show you here is actually how this is working. And I'm glad I picked a Facebook slide, which is just coincidental, but this is the Facebook dashboard for how you buy an ad. And I think you heard Katie this morning talking about this, how they make their money through their advertising dashboard. So you would go into here, and what you can do now is, if you can see at the bottom there, you see TargetSmart data, and then you see all of the models that you can put onto the TargetSmart data. The TargetSmart data is the national voter file in America, and you can now pick that voter file, and then you can sub-select different segments of that voter file, buy advertisements on Facebook, and you're gone. You're off and going. And what we can do now is, this is not cookie-based. This is direct one-to-one communication on the device that the person is looking at. Not cookies. Not cookies. This is direct one-to-one on the device that the person is using. So this is really very, very cutting edge. I'm very, very, very proud of this product. And I think that is all. Is that all I have to say?
I don't know.
No, so I guess the only other thing I wanted to say was, again, use all the tools available. But I've been thinking about digital a lot. I think everybody has, and especially because of what's going on in the United States, for me anyway, right now. Grassroots activism, bless you, comes comes from outside the parties. I mean, this is what's happening. And I'm trying to think if that's always been true, and I don't know, I'm not a historian, but definitely that's what's happening now. In the United States, we have the Tea Party on the right, and we had Occupy Wall Street on the left. Occupy's kind of disintegrated and gone away, but the Tea Party, unfortunately, is still with us. And so what we're seeing here is the advent of a change in the media and how it affects the political atmosphere. And so this isn't new, but this is what's happening now. We had Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the advent of radio, and he took great advantage of radio, and he used that tool to great success. And then we had the advent of television, and John Kennedy, young and charismatic, and thank God looked so much better than Nixon on TV, and took great advantage of television. And now we have candidates taking advantage of this new media, which is digital. And unfortunately, for me and for us in the United States, Donald Trump has become the master of digital. He, until very, very recently, until sometime this year, had spent a total of $2,000 on media. $2,000. And I don't have to explain that. You understand how incredible that is. So, he is the master of this digital media. And I think we all are going to have to really master this, but again, what I want to say is integrate all the tools you have, not just the new sexy piece. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you very much for being so nice to me. And those of you who live in Vienna, you are really some of the luckiest people on the planet. Really, really wonderful city. Again, thank you so much for your time.